I'm Miranda Rake.
And I'm Sarah Wheeler, and this is The Mother of It All, where we take on motherhood through the lens of culture and culture through the lens of motherhood. I don't want a lot for Christmas. Just recording a podcast with Miranda Rake. What's up, boo-boo?
Oh, well, now my day just got so much better. That was delightful.
Were you like, is Mariah Carey on the call?
It's like, oh
Did
my
we,
gosh.
is that her?
Would she know if she was on our call?
Maybe
No?
not.
Like,
I don't know.
feel like
I did hear.
wouldn't know.
I did hear on. I'm really very into radio these days, as you know, and I did hear on my new favorite preset station, 102.9, the Bay Area's R&B, this morning that every year she makes $3.5 million on royalties from that song,
That's wonderful.
which is maybe not enough.
I think it's enough. That's enough.
Like for the joy that that song brings.
Some people
every year
don't like that song.
Yeah, those people are Scrooges.
I know. Did you watch her Christmas specials?
I
think there were
lived her
two.
Christmas special.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's a failure of mine that is
You
quite
haven't?
tender. Thanks for bringing it up. I didn't, and I also didn't go to she had a Christmas special in LA a few years ago at the Hollywood Bowl, and I was like, this will happen every year, and then it hasn't. And speaking of you only have so much time left, which, we'll get into today. I feel like I missed my chance, and yeah,
It's a favorite topic of this show. It's like you only have so much time.
You only have so much time. That was our first episode. Wait, have you watched the Christmas specials?
Oh yeah, there's two of them, and they're both, kind of honestly, they're kind of boring, but it's a vibe, and you have to do it. I think.
Would it be good to have on while I'm folding laundry?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes. I would like to, in that vein, also recommend A Very Merry Scottish Christmas, which is from maybe 2 years ago or something. And I had meant to watch it, and I didn't, I missed it in the season. And then I was like, dang it, I'm not in the mood. And so this year I was determined. I have not watched any other Christmas movies, but this one pretty mediocre, Hallmark Christmas movie. And it was I watched it with a friend, and I was kind of obsessed with how it didn't do anything that you expect a movie to do, explain why the brother and sister have a rift. It's you just have to accept it, and then they don't appear to actually have one. They're having coffee, and it actually looks all pretty functional, but they keep talking about it. They're
or explanations. Let's just roll with the plot forward.
Yeah, the plot is that's a generous term for what the movie had. It's like a vibe, and then it had beats, but no plot. It was sort of anyway, yeah.
I have a question for you, Miranda Rake. Were there hotties? Are there any hotties? Scotty hotties?
Yes, Scotty hotties, but he smiled so much that it became weird. I was talking to my friend about
why are you recommending this movie? You're basically
if you're doing something else and you need a vibe.
We're talking about a genre of movie.
Yeah.
Laundry folding films.
Yeah.
LFFs.
Exactly. Or
we got the
gift
Mariah Carey
wrapping.
holiday. We got A Very Scottish Christmas. I might put. I tried to watch the Alicia Silverstone Merry Xmas, but it's EX because it's about her ex.
I get it. Yeah.
And I think my problem was that I treated it like a movie that you would focus on as the only activity.
Yeah.
And it was not able to.
Sorry, have you ever treated anything like that? This is Courtney jumping in.
You have not been introduced yet, Courtney.
Sorry.
So that was out of. Have I ever paid full attention to one thing? Is your question?
Why pick this movie to be the very
but this
first time?
one, it's Merry Xmas, and it's going to need all of. That's a complex title.
That's right.
It's
For
got
once
a lot
in my
going
life,
on.
I was like, Alicia needs me.
Yeah.
I'm going to tune out everything. I'm not going to sing during this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start a list.
You're
and
on
leave it
TikTok
somewhere.
during Hamnet, but you're this one I'm going to
Hamnet, I was engaged in a full activity
teasing.
during Hamnet, and it was sobbing uncontrollably.
Yeah, that's why I won't
like
be
the
seeing
movie
that
theater.
movie. Yeah.
Because I do.
Yeah.
I know this isn't true in every situation. God, Courtney's gonna really call me on all my shit today. I do have some social skills, some. And so I won't be on my phone in a movie theater. So I love the movie theater because it
Mhm.
forces me to pay attention. And you're right, it's not my favorite thing to do.
Okay, so before we wrap up our delightful chit chat,
We're just getting
we've
started.
recommended so many terrible movies, but I wonder if you have a number one favorite holiday film that
Like,
you
actually, that I love.
genuinely love.
Like, I should have a quick answer to that. I mean, like, we've talked about Home Alone. We had a great episode, if anyone's in the mood to go back and
Yeah.
pay half attention to our episode on Home Alone with Nancy Reddy,
Mhm.
which was so good. So, I'll always get down on some Home Alone. I don't know. What do you?
I mean, I love I like the classic ones, but I really need to be close to Christmas for that. Like,
Yeah, it's got to be like Christmas Eve to
yeah,
watch like It's a Wonderful Life. You're
we
not doing
all
that December 10th.
know. And I like White Christmas. It's good dresses. It's good like vibes. I like Christmas in Connecticut. It's truly funny.
I don't know
Old.
what you're talking about.
What?
That sounds like a white Christmas to me. But
I mean,
Connecticut
it for
jokes.
sure is, but desk set, Christmas vibe, but not like all the way Christmas.
Desk
Katharine
set?
Hepburn. Yeah.
Oh, these are like old-fashioned.
The
These are
classic.
deep
Okay.
cuts.
Okay.
Yeah, I recommend all
We
of
don't
these.
So I do have a movie Christmas tradition, which is that we try to watch like all the movies from the year that we wanted to that we haven't yet. So it's not
Mm,
Christmas, like the movies aren't Christmas themed, but it is a holiday activity that like me, John, my stepmother gets down on it. My niece is a
mm,
big like it's like who stays up after the family dinner, that little
mhm,
crew.
mhm.
But some years we watched a movie like every night and had like full participation.
Ooh, that's
So
fun.
I'm
I
working
like
on
that.
that list. Yeah.
Well, our Christmas Eve tradition, David and I, is after Santa comes, we watch the Bill Murray Christmas special and we drink a
Is
bottle
it
of
like,
champagne.
is that like a stand up?
No, it's Sofia Coppola directed. The Bill Murray, it's like a very Murray Christmas, I think it's called.
Whoa.
And
When's
it's
it from?
maybe almost 10 years ago.
Almost
It's
10
got
years.
her husband in it because he's the Phoenix guy. So the whole Phoenix band, like the little French band,
Oh, I didn't
i-
know what we were talking about. The French Phoenix
they're
band.
in it. Maya Rudolph
That
is
is an
in
aughts
it.
throwback.
It
Love
really
Maya.
is.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Okay.
Jason Schwartzman and Rashida
Wow.
Jones. And they're all
Wow.
snowed in at the Carlisle Hotel. And it's their wedding night. And it's Christmas Eve. And you got to watch
Wait,
it.
I'm sorry. Is this real? Like, is this a
This is real.
story?
Yeah.
Whose wedding night?
It's Rashida Jones and Jason Schwartzman's wedding night.
Oh, but they're not married in real life.
It's in the story.
It's a fantasy. It's
And Bill
fiction.
Murray is
We could do.
himself. And Amy Poehler and
You know what? I don't
Tina
want to watch
Fey.
any of these movies. I just want to hear Miranda Rake describe them.
And like mess it up. I recommend it. Christmas Eve, watch it, get a bottle of champagne,
That sounds good.
put your feet up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we righted that wrong of like giving some giving some things we like. All right, we got a lot of links lined up and we
So
haven't
much.
even
We got to
brought
get
on our
on
guest
maybe
yet.
like a letterboxed. I don't know. Maybe we should do that.
I started a letterboxed for myself,
Oh, well,
actually.
we can
Finally.
just make it
So we
ours
could do
then.
a Mofita letterbox. Yeah.
There
All
you
right.
go. Okay,
Yeah,
done.
well, you might already be able to tell, but like December is just leaning me into my ADHD. And my husband is out of town and I'm like I just have this one cup of tea that I keep adding another tea bag and more
Oh,
water
yeah.
to.
All
It's like,
day.
a safe addiction all day.
Oh,
And I've been like, there's like, I'm not joking, there's dishes in the bathroom sink right now. Like things are
Nice.
just a bit bananas. But as our guest has taught me, I'm going to say something nice.
Mm.
That when you are in these moments where you are stretched thin, instead of following a toxic, maybe slightly misogynist narrative about, maternal resilience, call on other people, like call on care. So I do have, like, last night I had to run a PTA executive board meeting. And I just sent an email out to a couple families and was like, can anybody feed my kids? Like, I thought about, like, okay, I could have them at home on a movie, right? From like 6 to 7:30. But like even that, it just self-care was being like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to run a meeting while that's happening in the other room. So Ed
I was just going
offered
to call
it,
Ed.
you
Ed
knew it
for
was
the
going to be
audible
Ed.
every time.
It's always Ed, but it's other people too. But Ed is a model. Ed was like, send him over, we'll make pizza. Then he invited another family. Then I just decided to go over there too. And I did my meeting in Ed's bedroom and he like brought me up a plate of food. And then 30 minutes later, a homemade chocolate chip cookie ice cream sandwich. And so I'm feeling quite frazzled by December, but also quite moved by the community. Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
just wanted to
about right.
say that. But I could use, if anyone wants to like DoorDash me some some sushi tonight. I
Find
really
Sarah
appreciate
on
it.
Letterboxd and
Find me
then
on
go
Letterboxd.
from there
DoorDash me some
to
sushi.
yeah.
And
Send
come over
a
and
small
fold laundry to
elf
me.
to do the dishes in her bathroom sink.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely need the elf on
While
a shelf
she's
to.
focusing
You've
on
got the
Alicia
dish in the sink.
Silverstone.
All right.
Don't touch it.
Well, enough about me, but there's still going to be more about me. Sorry. I'm so excited to finally have Courtney Martin here joining us. She's a journalist and the author of 4 books. Amazing every time I say it. The most recent of which, Learning in Public, Lessons for a Racially Divided America for My Daughter's School, literally changed my life. She is the co-host of Slate's How To podcast. She's the host of the Wise Unknown podcast, where she gets famous people to introduce her to the most important, not famous person in their lives. She also writes the newsletter The Examined Family, which is a Substack bestseller. Courtney is
Whatever
a dear.
the fuck that means.
Yeah,
Well,
yes.
we
it
recommend
means
it.
people
Sarah
love it.
and
We
I
recommend
love
it, but
it.
you don't need
Yeah,
our
okay,
recommendation.
okay.
It's one of
quite
the
popular.
2 that I actually read.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
nice.
I
I
subscribe
better
to
be-
many, but
better
it's
be
like
the other one.
when that one arrives, I read it,
That's so
That's
sweet.
something.
which I think Substack folks will know is a big deal.
Yeah, that's your get a badge for that.
Yeah.
Courtney is a dear, dear friend to me. And by the end of this hour, if her words and presence are not already dear to you, they will be.
Oh,
Welcome,
man.
Courtney.
High expectations. Thank you, Dr. Wheeler. I love you so much.
I love you. Who's caring for your kids today, who I also love?
We are fresh off of a teacher strike. So today's the first day back to school. So Miss Milani, not my favorite human, hopefully not a listener to this podcast, is taking care of Stella. And Mr. Burzon is taking care of Maya. And I will add, since we're going to talk about elder care, that I just visited my dad at the elder ashram where he is in memory care. And a new person named Ivana is taking care of my dad that I hung out with this morning.
You know, it really should be who's taking care of your dependents,
charges
your
or
loved
That's
ones
what I was
something.
right
thinking
now.
on the way, because obviously I'm a listener of the pod, and I was like, I'm going to add in dad where dad is.
This is why we need you here.
Yeah,
it's true.
Wow. So Miranda and I are in like what I think I would call like the anticipatory elder care stage. Like when I'm asked that question, I am not thinking right now yet, yeah, who's caring for my parents? I have 4 parents, as you know, Courtney. They're all in their 80s. They're living independently right now. Like some of them are even working part-time. But I know from my friends and also like, I watched my parents with their own parents that it's coming.
right.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you found yourself like planted firmly in active elder care? And what in this place that we call the sandwich generation. What has your journey looked like?
Well, I think the most obvious way to answer that is just that, like, my dad is one of the loves of my life. He's like, he's just one of the loves of my life. So when he started to show cognitive decline, it was actually like over a decade ago. I knew it far before he was ever diagnosed. I just like had a very deep feeling about it. And I actually felt a lot of anticipatory grief back then. It's interesting that you said anticipatory,
Hmm.
like, caregiving for elders, because I think that's a really important idea, actually.
Mhm.
Um, in any case, so I've known for a very long time that my dad's brain was not well, and then he got diagnosed with first, I think it was mild cognitive impairment was the phrasing, which is for most people kind of the onboard ramp to dementia or Alzheimer's.
Mm.
And then and my mom was taking care of him. They met in 6th grade. They've been married for like 50, probably like 57 years or something crazy now. Um, so my mom was taking care of him mostly full time, all by herself. And then at some point, my brother and I, brother is also one of the loves of my life that Sarah Whaler knows.
He's one of the loves of my life too.
He and I were like, we got to do something because mom is like not okay. The caregiving load is so insane. And so we all kind of got on a Zoom and we're like, what do we do? Like, this is no longer viable in this way. And decided to all co-locate essentially in a town where we could live close together. So I live in a house now with my mom, my husband, and my 2 kids. My brother lives 3 blocks away with his wife and 2 kids. The intention was to take care of my dad. That didn't work out as we'd hoped. So we all took care of him for about a year and then had to take him to memory care, which has been actually like a very beautiful transition
Mhm.
in so many ways, obviously painful also. But so it was like in terms of this anticipatory framework, like it was sort of long and painful and sort of slow. Like every time I would visit, my heart would be broken and I would be like, how do I like help them from afar? And like what, my mom would be refusing help. And it just felt really painful to not be able to help. And then it was like all of a sudden I had more opportunities to help than I could ever possibly want slash,
Mhm.
just total crisis on my hands. So it really felt very feast or famine in that regard.
Can you talk
Mm.
a little bit about that? Because in reading your work too, I mean, um, change, like moving, is so big. I mean, that's so big, and you have kids. I forget how old your kids are again, but
They're now 12 and 9.
yeah, so, I mean, to make that decision to uproot them, and I mean, it's just it must have been a huge thing to weigh your responsibilities to your kids, what it will do to them, to uproot them from a familiar community, replant them while you are shifting your focus. Also, I mean, it's a lot to hold as one person. And I'm curious, was it a hard decision? Or was it like, this is clearly just decide, this is what is going to happen?
That's a really good question. I think it was a very painful decision, but it wasn't a hard decision, if that
Mhm.
Mm,
makes sense. I mean,
mhm,
and part of the pain is Wheeler, is this woman sitting right here who was my sister wife through one of the most important and beautiful times of my life. So like so we lived in this co-housing community together essentially. So it's leaving co-housing writ large, leaving being backyard neighbors with Sarah. It was just like I loved my setup. I mean, obviously there were a million frustrations and, we were like yelling and drinking in the yard at different moments during the pandemic. It wasn't like all perfect.
Yeah.
But it was just my dream life that I had set up. Dream school, dream community. I loved the location, very
Yeah.
like urban. I was really like living my values in ways that felt super in alignment. So leaving all of that was incredibly painful, which I do think speaks to like how deeply I love my family of origin, my parents and my
Mhm.
brother, that it still felt like the right thing to do. I also think co-housing sparked my own imagination and gave me really deep muscles for showing up for people in collaborative and creative ways. So there was a part of it that was like, okay, this is the next experiment in communal living. It just happens to be with people I am like blood related to, other than obviously my amazing sister-in-law. So yeah, it was painful, but not hard.
mhm, mhm. That makes
That
sense.
makes
That
sense. Yeah.
makes a lot, yeah, that I mean, that's something I've been thinking about as I anticipate, and as is like that there is a lot of clarity in this life moment, right? Like I think that's a bit of what you're speaking to about like it wasn't difficult because I knew that I wanted to move towards literally and figuratively towards these people and who I love and being in community with them and caring for them as they, basically die, right? Um and that is like feels very clear. But there is so much else. Right?
Yeah.
The caring for the
So
younger
much else.
kids, right? And so when I have that feeling like, when I, like, oh, I would, I know you've written about this, Courtney. And so you can hear it like the little, I'm sprinkling this with a lot of humility, but
Mhm.
that kind of insistence on like, well, I could never put my parents in I'd never let them live in a senior living center. Or I'd just change my life. It's like, okay, the love is clear, but there is a lot more to take in there. Not just about what's good for me, but what might end up being good for them.
Yeah. Well, and now we have this third layer of community, like a communal experiment, which is where my dad lives, which is actually
Mhm.
like this, and it's a very unusual place. So I don't mean to
Yeah,
make it sound
tell
like
us a little
every
bit
place
about the
is like
elder
this.
ashram.
I
It's
But
so
Googled it
special.
when you first wrote about it because I mean, like, not to be weird, but, I was like, what is this? Like, this kind of sounds cool. And then I thought, oh, that's so cool. And was trying to figure out if there's anything like it here.
Mm,
And just, thinking, I guess, wondering eventually what my own family might need. And yeah, it seems very beautiful and unique. And I hope it's not that unique because it seems,
it is,
yeah,
sadly, it is.
no.
yeah.
It's like it truly is a community in the sense that it's structured in a way that, first of all, that like there's a very deep spiritual component of honoring elders, and not just as like, people who are on the way out, so we have to be respectful of them, but like people who still have desires and a need to
Mm,
feel needed. And so elders have roles there, like they like spread the flower petals in the hallway, and they serve each other tea, and there's just like all of these ways in which the elders are given jobs, essentially. I mean, it's very like Montessori in
I'm
nature.
thinking about that.
um
You wrote about the Montessori tips for,
Yeah, it's
elder
so
care. I
sweet.
love that.
And it's not fancy, but it's
Mhm.
like there's a huge garden. There's just like the sensory pleasures of being a human is
Mm,
really deeply at the center of it. Which is something I've learned a lot from watching my dad's deterioration, is like, I'm constantly asking myself, okay, what's left? What's left? What's left? Like what
uh,
are his ways of connecting? What are his forms of pleasure? So, this morning I sat with him on his bed and we sang Beatles songs together. We exchanged no words. He has no words left other than singing. And he actually didn't sing today. I just sang to him. And I held his hand and he tapped my arm and I gave him a big kiss. Like those are our forms of connection that are left. So any structure, whether it's in your house or it's in a beautiful community with paid professional caregivers that allows your people to still feel their pleasures and connections, that's really like all that matters. Like
Mhm.
it's just like all the stuff with our kids where we get all worked up about like guilty about what, and I had tons of guilt, obviously, taking him to this place. So this is not to say I'm immune from this, but now that I'm 8 months, I think 6 months into having him there, I'm like, oh, this is like about his ability to be calm and content and have pleasure
yeah.
and have my mom not die, which is, I think it's 40% of caregivers die before the person they're taking care of because it's so stressful among
Ugh.
elders. So it's my mom is alive. That's a win. I am more sane and able to interact with him as his daughter. So I got to come in today and not change his diaper, but sing to him.
Mm,
Right.
mm.
And he's around a bunch of beautiful people, including this like roommate who's I'm just obsessed with, this Menchie dude named Tony that my dad now lives with, who's
Tony.
basically his like brother. They like button each other's shirts up and like they're
Oh,
always kind of like walking around together and they hold hands and like it's just the sweetest
Tony.
thing in the entire world, and never would have met Tony, which actually reminds me a lot of co-housing Sarah, where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, that so I've had these like experiments in community that I think have allowed me to relate to this moment much differently than some people might. And I would wish that part of it for other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I wanna go back to the kids for a minute, to, like, the sandwich of it all. I was just thinking as I was kind of, reading and preparing to talk to you about this, Courtney, about my own experiences as a kid caring for my, grandparents' generation. We had, I have a great aunt, Margaret. She was my dad's aunt, and she lived in Texas, until she kind of couldn't take care of herself. She was living on her own. Her husband had been dead for a long time, and she had Alzheimer's. And so she came up to live with us in Boston. And I was a teenager at that point, maybe 11 or 12. And I again, like, it's interesting, like with the co-housing, how other more unorthodox patterns around care, I think, allow you to think more flexibly about elder care. Because I grew up in this, as the two of you know, this kind of rambling home with a bunch of apartments, and there was flexibility there. So we had an apartment that Margaret came to live in. There was space for her caregivers, so we could have caregivers who were also part-time students come live there, get free rent in exchange for care. And she was kind of in this separate place. She wasn't, she was pretty out of it, but, not violent, not incredibly anxious, and things that, like, a slightly less trained person could handle, but,
Yeah.
changing her diapers and all of that. But I got to go, I would paint her nails, we would have dinner with her. I would go over and just sit with her and, like, listen to her, whatever, like, family ancestor she thought I was that day. I was like, great, tell me about them, and, we would run errands with her. And eventually she did have to go live the last couple of her years in a nursing home.
Uh-huh.
But that was, like, hugely formative for me. And a similar thing, happened with my grandfather. He never lived with us, but he moved to Boston to be, in a facility. And I spent a lot of time with him. And I
In what
just,
ways was it formative when you look back now? Like, what do you
I
mean by
think
that?
I think it did, like, bust open my sense of, um, what we owe to each other and how to be with other humans at different stages of their lives. I got to a place where I felt super comfortable being like, this is who Margaret is today, right? Like, you were asking that this is what's left. And
Uh-huh.
I'm going to engage with that, like singing the Beatles, and I love what's here of this person,
Mm. And
and I,
Wheels, that's so part of your way of moving through the world around your disability justice lens. Like, I feel like I've learned a lot from both you and my brother around having that perspective with not elders. Like, who is
yeah,
this
maybe.
person? How does their
Hmm.
brain work? How does their body work? Like, what fun can we have together, essentially,
Yeah.
is like how I think
Yeah.
of you interacting with people. So it's like, and that is really the work of the elder care too, is like just meeting someone exactly where they are, which is sometimes much easier with someone who's not your parent, by the way.
Yes.
I do want to
Mhm.
say that. Because
Yes.
today was a good day, but I have a lot of visits with my dad where I'm just fucking crushed by the grief of it.
Yeah.
But I could interact with 3 other people in his community and find total delight in it.
Mhm.
So, just wanna sort of caution that, like,
Yes.
it is much
It's a
harder
little
with your own
cleaner
parents.
when
Yeah.
you're no, like,
Mhm.
my grandpa
Mhm.
was always an old dude singing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
singing weird songs and, talking about Russia. Yeah, yeah. Well, I know you've written about kind of being, I think this is one of your gifts to the world, is, like, super honest about what it feels like has been hard for your kids and your ambivalence about this experience for them, but also what you think it's taught them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think I mean, one of the reasons, Miranda, you'd asked me about making the decision about moving in. One of the reasons, other than just like, my dad being the love of my life, that it felt like not a hard decision, was that my mom is an incredible human. She's like just a wild, brilliant, very I'm like, what is a nicer word than bitchy? She can be really bitchy, which I think she she would attest to too.
Mhm.
But like, she's just like a fucking badass. She's like an amazing
She
person. She
is.
is so much of why I am who I am.
Mhm.
So, and the parts of me that I really like. So I was like, it's going to be great for my girls to get really ready access to this person who is just an absolute one of a kind, and I know has shaped me in such special ways. And so that has been really powerful, and my 2 girls have really distinct relationships with my mom. They're very different relationships and very special. My little one, who, Sarah has fed 1,000,000,000 meals, is like
That
an
girl can eat.
imaginative, like, improv, like, kind of emotional savant, and she has, for example, created an old lady character and will, like, creep into my mom's part of the house with her baton as a cane and yell, "Janice, what'd you do with my nuts?" That's her tagline with my mom, and then my mom acts like
It's
an
a great
older,
one.
grumpier woman named Rita, and, like, it's just it's bonkers, it's just
Mhm.
total bonkers, and it's exactly what my mom needs. Like, Stella's
Mm,
energy has just lifted my mom's spirits 1,000
mm,
times over, and so watching her, draw on this very instinctual gift she has of, comedy and emotional intelligence, I just like, I know in some form that is going to be part of her entire life. I don't know in
yeah.
what form, but like
Yep.
that is who Stella is going to be in the world in some way, shape, or form. Maybe she would have found it anyway, but she found it at like 7 years old, essentially. And then Maya is my older one, is much more gentle and quiet, but she has a way of just being so profoundly dignified with my mom. She takes my mom grocery shopping once a week, and she just like is so intuitive about how to help someone who has trouble accepting help in this way that I'm just like, holy shit, like
Mm.
just a real dignity to her that I'm really moved by. So again, I think that's part of who Maya is. She would have hopefully discovered it in various ways, but it's just like I think it's these seeds are getting planted so early for both of them of their own capability
Yeah.
around showing up for people.
Yeah.
Um,
And what
and
you learn about yourself
yeah,
when you show up for someone and go, "Oh, that's what I have to give."
yeah, really their
That's one of
gifts,
my
I think.
offerings, like, on this planet is that I'm
Yeah.
freaking hilarious
And
or,
and probably
I'm very, respectful and, I can guide someone towards something without making them feel pressured.
yeah,
It's beautiful.
exactly. And I do think this is maybe a controversial idea, not for you guys,
Yeah.
because you guys would get this, but I actually think watching me, I think there's a very fine line, and I'm worried it has sometimes been crossed, but I have never been so upset, angry, exhausted, aware of my own limitations, overwhelmed. Like this has been like the hardest year and a half of my life. So they have witnessed me hitting the fucking wall.
Mhm.
And I do think that's probably really healthy for them on some level. Like again, obviously there's a fine line, like they need a functional, safe mother figure or whatever. But I think I have been so resilient and so flexible. And so I mean, Wheels knows my vibe. Like I've just I don't know. I think they've had a sense of me as kind of like this superwoman who, you know, doesn't miss a step to some extent. Like obviously there's been moments when I remember when I forgot them at school that once, Wheels, and
You
they
were
never
so
stopped
horrified,
talking
and
about it.
I was like, "You've never forgotten your kids?"
Oh my god, they never stopped talking, but this is what I mean actually, is like, I have dropped so many balls in the last year and a half,
Yeah.
emotionally and logistically,
Yeah.
and I think that's probably actually really good for them to just be like, "Oh, mom's a person, and, like,
Mhm.
I get to be a person," and I guess I hope they take away that womanhood is not about just, like, being perfect all the time.
Well, that's a big point because I have a lot of fear of that. It's come up before on the podcast talking about like illness, where I really hate, like, I dread being sick because I don't want to be like not what they want me to be. Like, I don't,
Mm.
and I hate, and then I've been examining that more. When they're babies, it's really scary because they don't understand and you feel like frustrated and you have to let someone else do it and they're going to do it wrong, or they'll mess up your sleep training and then you'll be handed a baby that can't sleep anymore. There's a lot of anxiety. And then now that my kids are a little bit older, I'm trying to rejigger my thinking and sort of like even just this cough that I've had. My kid has been really impatient. I think the holidays, they're all kind of jacked, and to say the least.
I asked Max the other day, like, why he was having trouble getting along with his sister, and he was like, "Well, Christmas is in 15 days." He was
Yeah.
like, it's pretty stressful." And I was
Griffin
like,
said
"Oh, I
that.
did not realize you
Did
were
he
like."
really say
Yes, he
that?
really said
Yes.
that. So yes,
They're on the
yes,
same
ma'am.
page. Good job for our sensitive boys for knowing themselves. Because last night,
Wow.
and sitting in my lap at bedtime, Griffin had written "My mom hates me" in his notebook, and I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Okay, well,
I
this
get
is
that a lot, by the
crushing,
way,
and I'd
from
like to talk
Ramona.
about it." Yeah, and
Yeah.
I said, "What do you think's going on?" And he said, "Well, so tomorrow's his birthday, and Christmas is in 2 weeks," and he goes, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Christmas is a lot." And I was like, "It is. It really is." And
And he's just a little chill Sagittarius. Those guys like to
he
just
doesn't
chill.
want it. Yeah, he doesn't want. And um it's it was funny because it was such a nice opportunity to say, it's a lot for grown-ups too. Like
Yeah,
a
Mhm.
lot,
yeah.
we like it and we're also
And
counting the
and maybe
days.
my cough is a little bit of a sign of that, and you should
Yes.
accept
And I
it.
need to take it
Yeah.
easy. But it's like making those lines and drawing those lines, it's really hard um and it can be scary and it's funny. I mean, we're not here to necessarily dig deep into this, but just to even
We aren't?
footnote, like, well, there's so much else that I want to get to, but the idea that we don't want to show ourselves to our kids, or we only want to show this one thing, or we really want to be strong for them because they need that and they need that consistency. But then knowing when is it like fine for them actually to see a richer picture, or, it almost sounds like you're using, like, if we're using the sandwich metaphor, like you're having the bread, like your mom and your daughters, like step in and support each other. And in that way that supports you. Like I'm thinking about what they're gaining, even though maybe it is kind of scary to see you in grief. Um,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's important. Yeah.
Well, and it works for me the flip side too, which is I would like to, in my delusional state, be the most dutiful, kind, unflappable daughter in the whole world who does
Right.
everything right. And I've had to be like,
Yes.
"Mom, Maya's gonna have a sleepover with like 6 tween girls, and they're gonna be like painting each other's nails and screaming for like maybe, 16 hours. So it's gonna be a little loud because we all live together. I think I said that. So it's
mhm,
like,
mhm,
and I need you to just be okay.
mhm.
And my mom, to
Wow.
her credit, lately has been like, I get it. Let's do it. Whatever. We couldn't do that with my dad. So that was part of the reason we also had to move him out, was he was getting so agitated by noise that the girls couldn't be their full selves. And it was like very confusing. We didn't want to make him feel policed all the time and make the girls feel policed all the time. It was just like, this is not good.
Yeah, that
So
seems like it's
that
coming up
that
against a
was a
real
line.
boundary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but with
Yeah.
my mom being able to be like, "I'm not gonna make life perfect for my girls, and I'm not gonna
Yep.
make life perfect for my
Yeah.
mom, and everyone has to be okay with that," has been a real growth curve for me.
Wow, Courtney, you're
Yeah.
blowing my mind with like the layering of, expectations of yourself as a mother with expectations of yourself as a daughter.
Yeah.
And you're one of the many wonderful women who I think of every time I hear Taylor Swift's Eldest Daughter song. And I am
I
not an
love that
eldest
song.
daughter.
You know I
I
love that
am,
song, and I'm not an eldest daughter either.
So what
I
are your
God, okay, wait,
practices? Like, wait, I want to hear
Court,
about the
this is sorry,
prac
this is the psychology too, and I
yeah.
do this a lot, that I think of you as older because I think
Oh, my
this is your
brother is
Ooh.
dynamic,
older.
right?
Yeah.
And okay, yeah. So, but yes, I want to be a good girl for my parents. I want to give them what they need. I want them to like think I'm competent too in a different way. Holy moly, that's a lot.
So, Courtney,
Sorry,
what
and
are
you had
your
a question.
yeah, like how are you unwinding this? Like, what is helping you? Are you like therapy 3 times a week? Are you reading? I know that I feel like I first encountered your writing in, like, On Being. Did you do
Mhm.
some work for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to have
So,
a
I
page.
just that is my connection and my draw to your work, is that kind of spiritual, existential kind of interrogation of your own life and the world around you, and I'm curious,
Are you
what
praying, Courtney? Are you praying through this?
Well, yeah, I'm praying. I like to
Yeah.
make Wheeler uncomfortable and talk about going to church too, so I'll talk
Oh,
about that a
yeah,
little
you
bit.
are going to
I
church.
go to church, I go to
Oh.
therapy, I go to the Little Hill Lounge and have drinks with Wheeler and others, my lady friends on a Wednesday night. Yeah, the way I am unwinding this, which is such a beautiful way to ask it, Miranda, is I am being totally, like, broken down and remade as a human. Like, this has really been, like, a true crucible, and TBD how that comes out. I'll keep you guys posted. Maybe there's a part 2 of this
Mhm.
in, like,
Mhm.
6 months
Yes,
where I'll tell
yes.
you the full reformation. But the other thing I'm doing is what I did with learning in public and what I always do, which is I, like, experience something personally, and then I ask all these, like, systemic, economic, and existential spiritual questions about it and write about it. So at my
Mhm.
Substack, I've been doing a lot of this sort of existential spiritual stuff. I'm now, and I have been a little bit more and more turning towards systemic reporting on elder care. So I have this big piece in the Nation coming out that I actually did want to say to any of your listeners. One of the questions you should be asking if you are looking for professional care for your parents, whether in-home care or like a memory care or assisted living, is there any worker-owned options around you? Because there is a
Mm,
small movement of worker-owned in-home healthcare agencies all across the country, and the place my dad is in, his memory care center, is worker-owned, and I deeply believe it's part of what
Mm.
makes it so special. And I think that, we can talk about sandwich generation caregiving and family caregivers, but we have to talk about professional caregivers. And
yeah.
they are paid shit and they have so little agency and they know the most about our beloveds and they're treated with the least respect. And worker ownership
Mhm.
is like one of the ways to like win, win, win. It's like a triple
Huh.
dignity investment. So that if I could start over, like that would be the first question I would be asking is like, are there worker owned home health care agencies or assisted livings near me? The other thing that was a total gem in our lives till it got shut down was a day program. Day programs for elders of all kinds, but especially people with memory issues is like just such another beautiful community that someone can be a part of. And then the people in the house can actually get a breath. And there aren't enough day programs. So anyway, I am doing that. I'm like thinking
Mm.
systemically,
Mhm.
thinking economically, thinking racially about, what has my family been able to access that other families could and can't, like, because we've had so much economic privilege as we've faced
Mhm.
down this journey. um, and, my dad's elder ashram setting right now, there's, you can be there on Medicaid. We're not on Medicaid. And my mom pays $9,000 a month for his care.
Whoa.
Whew.
And that's totally normal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like not cheap. It's not like an inexpensive place. We're in the Bay Area, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's totally average.
Ooh,
And
wow.
what else are you learning about, the systemic side, Court, that's been, a surprise to you or felt like, particularly pertinent?
I mean, it's just, I get why we don't look at it because it's so painful. Obviously,
Mm,
this is like tied up with grief and death and all of the like hardest things in the whole world to talk about, losing the people we love, unresolved relationships, you just like the list goes on and on. But
Mhm.
this country just so profoundly disservices our elders. It's like
Yeah.
it's so wild that
Mhm.
we do this. And it's a little like it makes me think of the ways in which, working parents, it's so hard to like figure out advocacy while you're like, flying the plane of raising a child.
right.
And then by
Making
the
those
time you're out of it, you're
PB&Js.
just like, oh my God, like I just want to rest now. It's
Mhm.
like,
Mm,
I think that, for many people, it's like elder care basically breaks you and then you have no more energy left to be an advocate or talk about it. I think that's changing a little bit now. There are a lot more caregivers who are like influencers online who are really like speaking out about the experience in a different way, which is a very
wow.
cool thing. But I just don't think there's been enough of a movement really addressing the way this country treats its elders. Yeah, and professional caregivers. I mean, the closest thing we have is this incredible organization called Caring Across Generations, led by Ai-jen Poo, that does a lot of work to think about, like, how do we not just unionize, healthcare workers, like in-home healthcare workers, but also like how do we change cultural narratives and make elders like real in people's minds. I mean, I think that's another piece that's been very clear to me is like there's an anemic, just a like such a pitying, shitty, anemic imagination that we have for what
Mhm.
elders, who they are and what they're about and what they deserve. And
Yeah.
so whenever I'm writing about my dad, I'm really hoping to make it like quirky and real and textured and like, these folks are just as real as our kids as we are but I feel like we just have this like blank slate of like old person, um like we just like don't understand how real um and deserving of like, just a textured understanding elders are.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, yeah.
So it's,
You
like, hard to
also
care about something politically if you have no imagination for who that human is, you know what I
well,
mean?
this is what we
Mhm.
do in so many sectors of our society is dehumanize a group so that we can, not care about them and not invest in them, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
thinking
Court,
about
you
children, elders, and caregivers for both, right? It's
yeah,
like
Mhm.
when I was um exploring early childhood education and I've been subbing at this preschool and the pay is such
Yeah,
trash.
yeah.
And you're like, in order
Well,
to do it, I had to study about like secondary attachments and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is a really, I mean, obviously, really important role.
yeah.
And it just wasn't until I was considering doing it that I was like, "Oh, wow, this is, trash."
yeah, I had that thought. I was at a elder care facility, like an an old folks apartment building recently, and I interacted with, a caregiver there, an in-home aid person, and I was like, this woman seems like she could not care less about these people and this work. And immediately I was just like, what does she make?
Yeah,
What does she make? How is she treated? How is she, it's such a whole system.
Yeah.
You also introduced me, Courtney, to the term elder care doula. Could you just tell our listeners what that is? I've actually called the elder care doula now. I had a little consult with her, and that seems like a important piece here is like who's kind of guiding us through this.
yeah. Well, that actually was a, guy I'm on a board with. He had lost his wife to Alzheimer's, and we were, like, on a board call together, and he just, like, private messaged me. He was like, "You have to call this woman because she's
Mm,
saved my life." And that's a whole other really interesting tangent is male caregivers and the ways in which caring for your dying spouse in like hetero relationships like totally remixes all of like the care assumptions at the last act of a life is just so interesting when you think about
mm,
it.
mhm, mm,
Anyway, this, male caregiver who'd lost his wife was like, you got to call this woman. So, I did. And she's been a really profound influence in helping me, sort of calm my own nervous system around some of these choices to normalize some of what I'm going through, like a safe person to talk to about some of the things I was experiencing when I was doing like really a lot of direct care for my dad. There was, a season when my dad was living with us and he was incredibly agitated. And it was profoundly painful and upsetting. And it's really hard to talk to anyone about because it's like it's just so real and people
yeah.
are just like living their lives and they're like, "How you doing?" And you're like, "Do you actually want me to answer that question?" I don't think so. So it was incredibly helpful to have someone who could just, with absolute unconditional love and a lot of knowledge and experience, hear me out and then help me strategize. So it was like both emotional and strategic in just the way I needed it to be. Most fundamentally, when we decided to send him to the elder ashram, she really talked me through like my emotions around that decision. I had to do the majority of the logistical work around it. So there's a lot there too of just like, how do you know a place is safe and what do you look for? And, it's not unlike looking for a preschool or whatever. So that was incredibly helpful too. I think she did a lot of things that we could do in a just communal context, like I could do
Mm,
for you, Wheeler. as friends, like once your friend has this knowledge, they
Right.
can do some of this. But a lot of us, and, I'm kind of on the early side since I'm only 45. My dad had early onset. So it's like I don't have a lot of peers to look to ask these kinds of
Yeah,
questions to.
yeah. I just consult, my dad has Parkinson's kind of early stages, and he had like a, totally separate kind of medical complication a couple months ago. And I reached out to her just to kind of, I think the like, where are we at and what is needed at this moment question feels so big and so important. And like, I know, I'd imagine, Courtney, your response to that would be like, you don't always know, because there like isn't a map. But, I was just trying to think through like what level of care do I need to provide here? Like can we do this? And I have the gift of 4 siblings. So I have all of my parents live within a mile of several of their children or stepchildren. And I'm not one of those people, but I'm pretty close to my dad, an hour away. And um I also see my friends, like Miranda, you're an only child. Like I'm seeing, I have a friend who's, just got legal guardianship over his parents. And it's just him. And that's wild too. I feel grateful that I have these decision-making partners, but none of us know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you brought up siblings because actually, when Sarah and I are in a women's group together, and when we did elder care, one of the things I was most surprised about was how much we talked about siblings. I think
Mm,
that sandwich generation ends up being not just about your kids and your parents, but about your siblings or lack thereof,
yep.
and your relationships with them and how good those relationships are. And my brother and I have actually just like done a tremendous job working together. I'm like so grateful for the way we've been able to show up for each other, which was not necessarily a given because, like you said, Wheels, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And it is so much pressure, and it's so hard that it's easy to, break apart in that kind of a situation. But Miranda, one of my other best friends, is a only child who will be taking care of someone with an Alzheimer's diagnosis. And so she and I have been talking a lot about what that means for her to be an only child. And I mean, a lot of people with siblings feel like only children taking care of someone, to be
Yeah.
fair. It's not like
Yeah.
a given that you have the kinds of relationships Sarah and I have with our siblings. But
Yeah.
I do think it's like a whole different ball of wax to be, and it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on your partner if you have one too, which can be a beautiful thing to come together around, but can also be like, wow, you signed up for a
Yep.
lot, you
I
Yeah.
have
know?
thought
Yeah. No,
about my
we have.
marriage in the
Mm-hmm.
context of
Mm-hmm.
this, of the
Yeah.
sandwich. Like, oh, I'm going to lean on him hard someday
Mhm.
soon.
One of the
Hopefully
things that
not
my
soon, but
my
Yeah.
mom has
eventually,
done that I'm super I kind of in awe of is she has had like several meetings with her 5 children. We'll meet on Zoom, sometimes with her estate lawyer. It's not like she has some huge estate, but she has stuff to hand on. And she is asking us questions about what we want to do when she gets, more dependent and when she dies. And so we are having to have these conversations now kind of with her. And because she said, like, I don't want you guys to have to figure this all out without me, and it's been difficult, like it's not like everybody feels the same or has the same kind of readiness to talk about it. And it was really scary. Like the first time, she was like, let's have a talk about my death, it was like, but it felt so good just to kind of name it.
Mhm.
And to kind of dip into the like kind of roller coaster of like emotions and logistics that this all entails,
This
right?
is
Mhm.
why Bev is my queen.
Yeah,
I
she's
know
she's
she's been
pretty
on the pod,
amazing.
but like, so
Yeah.
your listeners know, Bev, queen,
Yeah.
I know,
queen
that's a
Yeah.
moves.
great I feel like that's
It's
such a
huge.
gift because I think kind of circling back to how our culture puts elderhood aside, I think it leaves a lot of us, you know, I don't know how to talk about aging with my parents. There's not a clear way to talk about it, and I feel like I want to let a lot of the older people in my life know that I'm interested and I want to hear and I'm not afraid of what they have to say and I'm curious and I think that there's a lot of wisdom in their age, and I want to hear all about it. And I don't know how to have those conversations. I want to say like, well, what are you worried about? What are you afraid of? What do you want me to know? How do you feel? How's your body? How's your, heart?
Yeah. I
And
asked my dad this question that my friend who had trained to be like an elder doula told me that like I almost couldn't like tolerate the first time she brought it up just about someone else. But it was like talking about this client of hers who had asked his dad like when they were talking about like advanced directives and like when basically like when do you want to go?
Mhm.
When will you be too far gone and you want us to, and you want us to help you end your life, basically. And he said, when I can no longer like sit and enjoy a football game with a beer, and, uh,
That was
and I,
Gordon's answer?
no, my dad hates,
Oh, this was
he,
your client's. I was
he
like,
will
that
drink
does
a
not
beer, but
sound like Gordon.
he'll pour out half of it and put seltzer water in the rest of it. And he definitely has never touched a football. No, this
Okay.
was this other
This is
guy.
the client.
My
I got it.
dad's
Okay.
might be like when I can no longer read the Iliad in Italian
That's what
and
I was
and
like,
enjoy
wow.
a glass of wine with water in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I asked my dad that. Like I was like, "You've got Parkinson's. Like we're going to get to this place where we can no longer communicate with you about what you want, right?" And I don't know the logistics of all of this. It's so much to unpack, but I was
Yeah.
like, I just want you to know I can handle talking to you about your death. And he and about like helping you die if you want to, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Wow, I didn't think I could talk to you about
It's like,
that."
how do
So
you schedule that time? Like, I mean, I'm very
Exactly. Yeah.
fortunate.
you
I've
use a
seen my
Calendly.
parents
You
and
have to have a Calendly set up.
Yeah.
It's really
be like,
helpful. No,
please
I'm just
book
Doodle
a
poll.
time to
doodle
talk.
poll.
Doodle poll for the death talk.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It's just not, yeah, there's not that life is full and busy. And then you're like, I don't have these times blocked out. And
Well, and
Yeah.
I will say, having never had that conversation in a good way with my dad,
Mm,
I think that one of the things that's the elder care journey has reminded me so much of is becoming a mother and the ways in which there's all kinds of preparation, and then every
mm,
kid is different, every journey is different, like every developmental milestone is it's just like it's another one of those things where we really have to have the serenity around prepare in ways that make you feel like you've got some kind of toolbox, some kind of
mhm.
community around you,
Yeah.
you know some things, but then just be prepared to be totally surprised and just be like making it up as you go along because my dad has never died before. I've never
Mm,
taken care of him dying before. There is no map, right? In the same way that Stella was never born before, she will never be again. Like raising her is its own totally unique journey. So it's like
mm,
just not to overestimate the amount of preparation that you can actually do. I
mhm,
think about those,
mhm,
like,
mhm.
birthing classes, like, I took that, like, crazy San Francisco yoga, class where you were supposed to
Hypnobirthing?
well, no, the, Jane,
Oh,
remember?
yes. Mhm.
Have you
This
guys
is like
talked
a
about this in the
famous
pod yet?
thing.
This is an
No,
important
no, but
place of
no.
San
Miranda, this is like a
Francisco.
famous local
But what is her name? It's Jane, it's a famous
Adams or something? Jane?
no,
Yeah,
it's anyway,
that's a nurse
oh,
from olden
what?
times.
Jane Austen. Allison's
No,
upstairs.
that's what Allison says, Jane Austen? That's
It is!
not really
It's
wait,
literally the
I
yoga
see it.
teacher's
I see
name,
it. It's Jane
Jane
oh,
Austen.
Austen.
wow,
Yep.
Yeah,
okay. I
and
knew
she
it was like
teaches, like, the
wow,
yoga class in San Francisco for pregnant ladies. Anyway, she had this thing where she put ice in your hand and made you hold it, and that
totally.
was supposed to teach you how to experience childbirth pain, and
Yeah,
I was
in my
just like,
yoga class, we did like you had to
"What?"
leave your arm up.
Just like, "What?" Like, that's the kind of dumb preparation that I'm like, if you're in this anticipatory phase around your elders, like, learn about, like, advanced directives, but don't waste a lot of time, like, holding a piece of ice in your palm. Whatever the
Mm,
equivalent of that is, it's
mhm,
just like, that's just dumb. Like, it's gonna be
mhm,
fucking hard. You don't
mhm.
need to experience hard shit now to, like, know it's gonna be hard in some
Yeah.
particular way.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
just I mean, if anything, just, like, practice being present with people who have various capacities, because that's, like,
Yeah.
which gets back to
Mhm.
disability justice. Like, that's the only kind of preparation I can imagine actually doing outside of, like, understanding some nuts and bolts stuff.
Yeah. And what would you say that's really helpful, Court. I was thinking about like the question, like if you could tell yourself one thing before you became a mom, what would it be? It's like if you could tell yourself one thing 10 years ago when you first got that kind of like early stage dementia diagnosis for your dad, what would it be? And it sounds like that's what you've just described to us, this humility around like, sure, do some, learn some things, shore up your community
Yeah.
and your ability, your muscles around care, but
And
there's
I
only
would
so
say
much you can
just like
prepare
with
for.
parenting, in active caregiving, make yourself happy. Like, I would read my
Mm.
dad Pema Chodron because I wanted to read Pema Chodron out loud. So I would read that out loud to him. I make art with my kids because I want to make art. Like, whatever, don't turn yourself into like a martyr robot. Like, figure out
Mhm.
what are the things with your elder, just as you figured out with your kids, that are like both of your
Yeah.
theoretically happy places. Like, sometimes it's confusing with an elder to know exactly what their happy place is, but
You
I
get to
think
explore
that's
that
a good
together.
place. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
thank
I think
you.
that makes sense,
Well,
like, continuing to learn about yourself and how to care for yourself and what you need when, like, the chips are down, like, this is, like, very, surface level, but I've been going to this really intense workout class, and we do one of those things where, like, your legs shake,
are
Mhm.
you doing
and
weights now?
it's like
Boot
holding
camp?
poses for a really long time, and
That's
I
some
think that
Portland
it's, like,
shit.
when you get that feeling of your body kind of freaking out,
Yeah.
and then the teacher's like, "Breathe, breathe, keep breathing, like, you can do this, and it'll be over," and that experiencing intensity and regulating your nervous system, that practice, those
Mhm.
Maybe
kinds of things, and
that's
that
kinda
helps
what the
me
ice is
all
for,
the
but
time, and it's the
yeah,
same in I'm sure, with meditation or prayer
right.
where you explore just, you know that intensity will come and things will send you into overdrive. And even though the experiences are different and totally unique, usually it's for me, it's like similar practices that will ground me. And like you're talking about, like just remembering how to be present. Even when things are really, really, really hard, it's better to be in it. And sometimes it's not as scary as it doesn't kill you. Like grief doesn't
Yeah.
kill you.
Grief doesn't kill you. Mhm, I like
It
that.
It's
can. It
Well,
can kill
oh,
you.
right,
sorry.
right. I
That's a
mean,
good thank you.
Just say it again. But I
Thank you.
yeah.
did have a moment when I was with my dad this morning, actually, when I was, like, feeling really I think what you said, Miranda, is so wise in the sense that if I am in my own experience of, like, in this moment, I am playing, a Billy Joel song on my phone for my dad and singing it to him and holding his hand, and his eyes are gently closed, and he has a quite content look on his face. It's actually, like, kind of perfect. But if I am being in a meta narrative, watching us and thinking, what would my dad of 15 years ago feel looking at himself right now? His like
Mhm.
super skinny legs, this
Yeah.
like institution that he's in, the fact that he doesn't even know my name. Like, that's just a fucking heartbreak of a portal,
Mhm,
right? But that
Yeah,
actually doesn't
yeah.
mhm,
exist. That man is
Yeah.
gone. So it's like
Oh.
the ability to be fully present with elders, I mean, this is particularly with dementia, but is really the way to survive.
No, I think I'm feeling this now, Court, with my parents, just, like being, forgetting a few more things and, being physically more delicate, and again, I have like four siblings. I can see everybody's responses to it. And it's like everyone fluctuates over time, but, we all have these moments where it's like I'll get mad, it's like I'm mad that like they
Yeah,
were supposed to, do this thing and they forgot about it, or I can't believe they didn't track this. And it's like, I do think that's there's something about what you just said that I'm finding helpful
yeah,
around like, don't go through the portal to like what your expectation about what they're supposed to be like or what they used to be like. That's only going to bring you pain.
yeah,
See what's here, what's left, like you said,
yeah,
even if that sounds like deficity, it's true. It's just like what's left and lead with that and connect with that.
yeah.
Feels like good guidance. Okay. What other, before we let you go, kind of culture recommendations do you have around elder care, memory care, just, I mean, Christmas movies? I know you've recommended, I'll just shout out because I know I've seen this for you a lot, and I don't know if you'll remember how brilliant you are and the great recommendations you give, but I know you recommended On Vanishing by Lynn
Yes.
Castile
I was
Harper,
going to say
Creative
that.
Care by Anne Bastings, and Travelers to
Yes.
Unimaginable Lands by Dasha Kuiper. They're all on my list.
That one is like, who's the doctor who wrote The Man Who Mistook His Whatever for a Hat?
Oliver Sacks.
Yes, that one is like
Rip.
a woman, Oliver Sacks, writing about dementia. It's really fascinating. And a lot of it is
Olivia.
about how caregivers' brains are actually the ones that are the most fucked up. And along these lines, because it's like
Wow.
the caregiver brain cannot catch up to the fact that the person has dementia. You keep expecting the person to be able to do the same things they used to do, even though you're the one with the fully functioning brain that knows they have a disease that has damaged their brain. It's such an interesting book. I really like that. That's very nerdy. Yeah, that's The
Unimaginable Lands?
Travelers. Yeah.
Wow.
And what a
Okay.
title. Am I right?
Yeah. Whew.
Freakier Friday. I've been thinking a lot about Freakier
Dude,
Friday.
that slapped. That movie was great. Oh, there's a lot of old people stuff in there.
And it's just made me if I could Freaky Friday with anyone, I mean, there's so many people I would want to Freaky Friday with, but especially my dad. Like, imagine Freakier Friday with your dad who has dementia. What is happening?
I'm just dying about using this as a verb. Like, hey, you want a Freakier Friday with me?
Dude,
Wow.
Wheeler, I could handle you for like maybe 6 hours.
Can we Freakier Friday so you could clean these dishes?
I would need out.
I'll like, totally go through your wardrobe and cut everything up.
That would be
wow.
amazing. Oh,
yeah, that movie was really
just dress
fun.
me. That you would have so much fun.
Oh, wow.
You would just cover me in beautiful makeup and like curl my hair in like big ringlets, not like these frizzy
There is
things.
a lot of like funny ageism and then kind of criticism of ageism in that movie, actually, because you've got the grandma switching with the young people.
And Jamie Lee Curtis, I mean.
Oh, just legend.
Yes.
Legend.
Bev, I put Jamie Lee Curtis and Bev like right next to each other as like
a lot
true
of people
goddesses.
do.
That's a lot of that's major.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Learning in Public in our bookshop. I highly recommend that book. As I said, it's probably like top 5 most important books of my life. And I know a lot of other parents that would say the same. We do have like this bookshop. If anyone hasn't checked it out, it's the Mother of It All bookshop. We'll link to it. You can see books from all of our guests. You can see our motherhood canon of recommended books. I'd love to. Maybe we can get your elder care canon on there, Courtney. We just also have general book recommendations for novels and the like. And it like gives us a couple bucks or something when you buy a book at no cost to you.
That's the rumor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the rumor, but it might never have happened yet. Please, I need to.
Our business manager will check on
Family One, and it does. It's
Okay,
like there's a little tiny nest egg for you guys waiting for you to buy.
That sounds amazing.
I need
Merry
to
Christmas to
purchase myself a box of See's candies this holiday. And we've linked to Courtney's wonderful Substack and some of her other published pieces on care in the show notes. Courtney Martin, we're so blessed to have had you today.
Thank you.
The best. I've been listening to the pod. I can't believe I finally got on this thing. I finally made it,
Come anytime. Please come back.
You're big.
So good to meet you, Miranda.
Nice to meet you too.
One big shot.
I love you, Wheels.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for listening to The Mother of It All. And like my mom always said, don't turn yourself into a martyr robot. The Mother of It All is produced by Opus Knox Media with music from It's Electric. If you like this episode, why not send it to a friend right now? Go on, we'll wait. You can follow us on Substack at themotherofitall.substack.com, where subscribing will get you episodes and bonus posts in your inbox and connect you with the Mother of It All listener community. Plus, become a paid subscriber and get a hot off the presses Mother of It All canvas tote. We're also on Instagram at The Mother of It All, and you can email us anytime with ideas or feedback at motherculturepod@gmail.com.